Divine Revelation. 7 miraculous truths about masturbation that will transform your spirit forever. In the quaint village of Willowvale, a place where time seems to stand still, the air vibrated with an electrifying hum. Sarah, a devoted churchgoer and single mother, found herself at the heart of a divine mystery. It was a Thursday evening, and the local chapel, with its flickering candlelight casting shadows on the lovingly painted walls, welcomed souls seeking truth. The congregation, bound by faith, gathered for the latest teachings from Reverend Thomas. As the pastor ascended the pulpit, a warm glow seemed to envelop him. His presence commanded respect and drew eyes in hopeful anticipation. Tonight, he proclaimed, we embark on a journey of divine revelations. The words sent shivers through Sarah's spine. An excitement mingled with dread fluttered within her, as she silently struggled with her own hidden battles. Could God truly shine light upon our deepest shames? She thought, remembering her own struggles with guilt and desire. The pastor's voice resonated as he introduced the 7 miraculous truths, each one imbued with a sacred promise. What if these insights could transform her spirit? As Reverend Thomas spoke, the first truth unfolded like a blooming flower. God's grace floods our being, erasing the weight of sin. Sarah felt a rush of warmth enveloped her like a comforting blanket. Tears pricked her eyes as she grasped the enormity of divine forgiveness. The room seemed to pulse with energy, drawing everyone into a shared experience of hope. With each revelation, Sarah found herself in a dance of emotion. The second truth whispered of self-control, reminding attendees that desires can be aligned with holy teachings. Her heart raced. Could recognizing her feelings as a part of God's design be the key to her liberation? The congregation reflected that power, exchanging knowing glances, offering silent support. The evening blossomed as truth after truth was revealed. The third spoke of body as a temple, evoking a delicate imagery of prayer and reverence. As Sarah absorbed each word, she envisioned a life where she could embrace her desires without shame. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the pastor drew near the climax of his discourse, the atmosphere thickened with a palpable weight. The truths poured forth. Healing through open dialogue, community support fierce as iron, vulnerability as strength, and love, a divine gift. Each revelation struck Sarah profoundly, kindling the embers of hope within her. But then, like thunder beneath a clear sky, her internal conflict surged. Could her desires ever be reconciled with her faith? The thought hung heavy in the air, a question that would not let her go. Just as her doubts threatened to engulf her, Agnes, an elderly woman known for her wisdom, stood to share her own story of shame and triumph. I, too, battled demons of desire that whispered lies, she declared, her voice trembling yet resolute. As she spoke of a miracle that changed her life, a light flickered behind Sarah's eyes. Would she ever find the courage to embrace these new truths and join Agnes and the community in joyful acceptance? The night deepened, and Sarah felt the walls of her heart begin to crack open. Here, amidst her fears and tears, lay the promise of revelation. Would she step forward into the light, or retreat once more into shadows? As the altar beckoned, a question loomed: was she ready to be embraced, flaws and all? The air was thick with promise. The journey had only just begun. The silence in the chapel was a tender tapestry woven with hope and tremors of fear. Reverend Thomas stood still, scanning the room, his eyes meeting Sarah's for a fleeting moment. In that instant, time slowed as he seemed to peer deep into her soul, reading the unspoken struggles etched on her heart. Tonight, he continued, his voice strong yet soft, we peel back the layers of shame that bind us. God has heard your silent cries. He is here ready to heal. Sarah felt her breath hitch in her throat, a surge of energy crackling through her as the congregation held its collective breath. The flickering candles danced like tiny angels celebrating the moment. As Agnes took her seat, a sense of triumph washed over the elderly woman, her testimony having sparked a glow in others, igniting the courage to share their own secrets. With a reassuring nod, the pastor led them into the fourth truth. Healing isn't a solitary journey. It thrives in community, amidst shared stories and compassion. Sarah remembered how many times she had hidden behind walls, afraid to reveal her struggles. Yet tonight felt different. The warmth of acceptance wrapped around her like a long-lost embrace. "Lean into your community," Reverend Thomas urged, his voice rising with fervor. "Reveal your struggles to trusted friends. They shall lift you from your lows." The room erupted in a murmur of agreement, faces shining with a newfound determination. Sarah's heart raced as she felt a pulse of fervor. Could she really share her hidden battles? A small voice within her whispered it was time to break free of the chains of isolation. Reverend Thomas moved on, speaking of vulnerability as a divine strength, the fifth truth to unfold. There was something so beautiful about being seen, about shedding the masks they all wore. His words dripped with love and understanding, and Sarah found herself yearning to let go of the burdens she had carried. A gentle nudge from the Holy Spirit urged her on what if sharing her story could resonate with others. As the pastor continued, he revealed the sixth truth. Love, God's true essence, flows from openness and authenticity. A quiet yet potent wave of realization swept through the congregation. The walls of shame began to crumble around Sarah. Flashes of courage lit up her spirit, urging her to be a vessel of love and healing. And finally, Reverend Thomas declared, drawing them all in with his powerful presence. "Know this, you are worthy of love, not because of what you do, but simply because you are his creation." The truth landed like a warm embrace. Sarah could feel her soul awakening, every emotion flooding her with a sense of belonging at long last. She was welcomed just as she was. Yet still, doubts whispered at the edges of her mind. Would she have the strength to step into this new identity? As the service drew to a close, Reverend Thomas invited all who felt compelled to come forward, to bask in the glory of acceptance and healing. Sarah's heart pounded. She glanced at Agnes, who smiled encouragingly, the gleam of shared understanding between them sparking an unshakable bond of support. In that moment, Sarah's resolve began to solidify. With each beat of her heart, she felt the fear of judgment fading, replaced by an insatiable hunger for connection and truth. But could she truly step forward, beyond the veil of her past? As she stood at the edge of the altar, a divine question surged within. Was she ready to take the plunge into a world drenched in grace and transformation? The air hummed with expectancy. Each soul in that humble chapel held its breath, waiting for the first step of Sarah's journey. Would she answer the call and embrace the fullness of her spiritual destiny? The air crackled with anticipation, charged with whispers of faith and the promise of renewal. As Sarah stood at the altar, she felt the warmth of the candlelight illuminating her path, each flame a tiny beacon of hope. She sensed the collective heartbeat of the congregation, each soul longing for connection, healing, and authentic love. Reverend Thomas's eyes shone with a serene wisdom as he encouraged the congregation. Step into the light of his love. Show the world your true self. His voice, a rich melody of compassion, wrapped around Sarah like a comforting shawl. Despite the knot of anxiety tightening in her stomach, she understood that this was not just about her. It was about the community that had gathered, a tapestry of shared stories woven together by shared struggles. Could she truly stand up and reveal herself? How many others were waiting for someone to break the ice, to dive into vulnerability together? With each heartbeat, echoes of Agnes's encouragement provided the push Sarah needed. Why should she hide when God had painted her with grace and love? What if her truth could inspire healing in someone else? The thought ignited a fire in her chest. Feeling her resolve grow stronger, Sarah took a deep breath. She stepped forward, crossing the threshold of comfort and into the sacred space of honesty. I want to share my story," she stammered, the words trembling as they left her lips, but buoyed by a wave of courage rising within. A hush fell over the room. Faces turned towards her, a sea of empathy and hope, urging her on. She could see in their eyes that her words mattered. They held the promise of connection, the warmth of shared vulnerability. I've struggled with feelings of unworthiness, she began, her voice gaining strength as she spoke. For so long, I thought I was too broken to be loved by God or by anyone. I felt like I wore my shame like a cloak, hiding the pain beneath it. The congregation listened intently, nodding, some wiping away tears. Sarah felt their encouragement wrapping around her like arms of support. But tonight, I realize I am worthy just because I am here, alive and loved. Her voice soared with the conviction of newfound truth. And if I can be healed, then surely you can also be healed too. A murmur of amen surged through the crowd, a powerful wave of unity that sent warmth flooding through Sarah. It was as if a dam had burst open, allowing all the pent-up fear and isolation to flow out with her words. Reverend Thomas stepped closer, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Yes, beloved, God sees you. Your honesty is a beautiful testament to His grace. In that moment, the chapel felt electric, a holy space filled with divine presence. Sarah caught Agnes's eye, and an unspoken bond of solidarity blossomed between them as the service continued. More souls began to rise, hesitantly at first, sharing their own battles, their own struggles, each voice a note harmonizing in a symphony of healing. Laughter mingled with tears, sorrow doubled back into joy, and doubts transformed into faith. Yet, amidst the celebration of shared burdens, another question began to swirl within Sarah's heart. What if this was only the beginning? What if God had even greater plans for her story, plans that reached far beyond the walls of the chapel? As the evening drew to a close, she stood with newfound resolve, feeling the weight of her past lift. But still, the mystery lingered, the question echoing in her heart. What other divine revelations lay ahead on this path of healing? With every beat of her heart, she sensed a gentle urging, a call to go deeper, to explore even the areas that frightened her. Did she dare to invite the next wave of transformation? The night was not over. The journey had only just begun. The warmth of the chapel lingered around Sarah like a soft embrace as she stepped away from the altar, her spirit soaring with an unbidden joy. She glanced at the flickering flames, each one representing hope, resilience, and new beginnings. In the aftermath of her words, a gentle hum of conversation and soft laughter began to fill the space once drastically still. As she maneuvered through the congregation, she felt a surge of connection. Those whom she had once considered strangers now appeared as kindred spirits, united in their quest for healing and understanding. For the first time in years, the weight of shame no longer shackled her heart. Instead, she felt a lightness as if she were dancing on air. Agnes approached her with tears glistening in her eyes, embracing Sarah tightly. You were incredible. You shared from your heart and it touched everyone. Thank you for being brave, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Sarah smiled, feeling the warmth of gratitude wash over her. I couldn't have done it without your encouragement, she replied. It was as if I was never alone up there. Nearby, others started to share snippets of their own stories. Men and women recounting moments of despair, yet illuminating how faith had slowly illuminated their paths back to hope. Sarah listened, entranced. Each journey was unique but threaded with common beliefs, intertwining their lives deeply with each shared word. A familiar voice, booming with authority yet softened by compassion, rang through the air. Tonight we witnessed something profound. Let us not forget the vow we take to support one another. Reverend Thomas's eyes sparkled with joy, and he continued, as we leave this chapel, let us carry this light into our world. Let us be vessels of grace. Sarah felt a pull in her heart to do more. Could this be more than just an evening of truths? Could it grow into a mission? The thought sent shivers of excitement through her. Suddenly, Agnes interjected, what if we start a group? A community dedicated to sharing our truth, our healing journeys together. The idea hung in the air like a sweet fragrance. Sarah's heart raced. The room was alive with energy, discussions springing forth like rivers bursting from mountains. "We could meet weekly," Sarah exclaimed, her voice rising above the chatter. "We can create a space where people feel safe to share, to be loved." This idea ignited enthusiasm. People began nodding, voices overlapping in excitement. The church basement could host gatherings, potlucks filled with laughter, storytelling sessions, an atmosphere rich with acceptance. The congregation rallied around this vision. Plans unfolded with fervent energy as members offered their support. Others chimed in with their own experiences, their own needs for healing. As the night continued, Sarah felt a prayer bubbling within her, a longing for guidance. "Lord, show us the path, help us to be the light you call us to be." She whispered this prayer over and over, as if it were a mantra, and as the final goodbyes echoed through the chapel, a hint of uncertainty crept into her heart. How would they put this into action? Would they all stay committed? The journey ahead was uncharted, full of potential and perhaps some struggle. She felt a gentle nudge from deep within, a reminder that the divine whisper in her soul still beckoned her onward, with hope blooming like spring flowers within her. Sarah took one last look at the brightened faces of her community. "This is only the beginning," she whispered softly. "What heights can we achieve together?" As she stepped outside, the crisp night air brushed against her skin, invigorating her spirit. Questions remained in the shadows of her mind, shadows that danced with possibility. What challenges lay ahead on this journey of healing? What lessons would they learn in the light of shared truth? One thought glimmered through the darkness: transformation was beginning, and she felt the holy promise of God calling her to growth. As she walked toward home, she knew their journey was only starting, with divine adventures awaiting just around the corner. The moonlight dappled the path home as Sarah walked, her heart still glowing from the evening's blessings. Each step felt grounded in purpose, a pulsating connection to the people she had just left behind in the chapel. She thought of the conversations they would have, the laughter yet to echo in the basement where they would gather. The warmth of community wrapped around her like a shawl, a tangible reminder that she was not alone. As she reached her front door, Sarah paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. The world seemed vast and filled with possibilities, yet beneath it lay echoes of doubts that slithered into her thoughts. What if it all falls apart? She whispered to the shadows around her. What if no one shows up? What if I fail? She pushed those thoughts away, remembering the shared vulnerability in the chapel. Instead, she replaced fear with faith, allowing herself to dream of growth and healing. She stepped inside, her home quiet and serene. The flicker of candlelight from a nearby table reminded her of the chapel, of hope. That evening, Sarah made notes for the upcoming meetings, her pen gliding over paper like a dance. Ideas flowed like water, each one resonating with the hope and authenticity of the group's vision. They could start with sharing stories, the kind of stories that cracked open hearts and invited healing. However, as she jotted down points, a small fear pricked at her. Would everyone feel safe enough to share their truths? Listening to struggles was easy, but would they be brave enough to let their own truths spill into the room? Each heart was wrapped in layers of experience, and peeling those layers back took time. "Lord," she breathed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Help me lead with grace. Help us create a haven of healing." She sensed his presence, a soothing whisper that enveloped her like a warm wind. It was a reminder that she'd be guided, just as she intended to guide others. By morning, her excitement transformed into actionable plans. She called Agnes and others who had shown interest, their voices filled with enthusiasm. As they spoke, ideas blossomed like flowers in spring. They would form small groups. The potlucks would be a delight, and every story shared would be a stepping stone towards healing. As days turned into a week, they held their first gathering. Sarah entered the church basement with a tingle of nervousness yet wrapped in anticipation. Tables decorated with bright cloths welcomed everyone. The familiar creaks of the wooden floor sounded like whispers of encouragement as people filled the space. Together they shared laughter and food. But as the night deepened, the mood shifted to one of solemnity as they began to speak their stories. One by one, hearts opened up. There were tales of heartbreak, loneliness, and struggles that felt insurmountable. And yet, amid the confessions, there were also stories of miraculous resilience. Each tale was met with nods of understanding and bursts of encouragement. Hands reached out, squeezing shoulders, creating bonds that shadowed loneliness. Sarah observed. Her heart swelled with gratitude. But just as cycles of joy arose, there were moments when sorrow cast its shadow. A voice crackled in vulnerability. I feel lost, as if my dreams were stripped away. Someone shared, tears shimmering in their eyes. An entire room held its breath, collective compassion filling the air. Sarah sensed a stirring, almost divine. What was the answer for this soul, lost yet seeking? We're all here for each other, she started, her voice gentle yet firm. Our journeys may differ, but our healing connects us. Let us be the light for each other in darkness. As the group joined in prayer, Sarah felt the weight of the moment. Hope was forged in that space, a bond that transcended their struggles. But even in the midst of this newfound family, doubts loomed like storm clouds. How would they sustain this energy? Would the group grow in love and support as planned? She whispered her fears to God. But above all, she felt a soldier's spirit emerge within her. The journey ahead is ours to walk together, she affirmed. With each gathering, each shared truth that spills into the light, we are transformed, bit by bit. And as the night folded to an end, Sarah looked around at the open faces glowing with fervor. We are only at the start, she mused, allowing her heart to wonder. What miracles await us in our journey together? With the excitement of uncharted territory in her heart, she took a deep breath and closed her eyes, listening intently for what God would reveal next. What divine surprises lay ahead, waiting just beyond the horizon of their budding community. The sun rose with radiant glory, casting golden rays through Sarah's window, igniting her spirit with renewed hope. She had barely slept the night before, her mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead for the group. As she prepared her breakfast, she couldn't shake the feeling that something significant was brewing, something destined to unfold within their gathering. With coffee in hand, Sarah glanced at the calendar on the wall. The next meeting loomed large, and the anticipation stirred her spirit. They had agreed to focus on the theme of forgiveness, a topic that could lift burdens and mend hearts. The very thought made her pulse quicken. Forgiveness had the potential to shatter shackles that bound them. As she got ready, Sarah paused at the small mirror above her sink. Lord, give me the words to share, she whispered. May your spirit guide this meeting, and let it be a safe place for all. The basement once again buzzed with chatter, familiar faces lighting up the space with welcome warmth. This time, the air was electric with expectation. Each member arrived carrying unspoken burdens, yet the smiles spoke volumes of the trust that had begun to intertwine their stories. Welcome back, everyone, Sarah exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Today we'll explore the power of forgiveness. It's not always easy, but it's essential for healing. As the evening unfolded, a sacred tension filled the room. Hearts were exposed like tender blossoms in spring. One by one, they formed a circle, sharing the wounds caused by past wrongs. Each story was heavy yet sacred, filled with pain and yet flickers of hope. A soft voice broke through the silence. My sister, they began, tears collecting in the corners of their eyes, was taken from me too soon. I've held so much anger and I don't know how to forgive. A murmur of shared grief swept over the group. Sarah could feel the weight of that expression ripple like a warm current. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, she gently interjected, but it's about releasing the weight. Frees us, doesn't it? When we forgive, we're allowing ourselves to heal. As the group nodded, Sarah's heart swelled with compassion. Vulnerability transformed the room into sacred ground. Voices cracked beneath the strain of truth, but the love that emanated felt tangible. A holy light shone through their honesty. Someone shifted in their seat. A timid smile formed. I haven't spoken of my past struggles with shame, but I want to change. I want to forgive myself. The words tumbled forth, raw and real, igniting a heavy sigh of collective understanding among the group. "Ah, that's where the beauty of Goddess grace comes in," Sarah responded, her voice steady and reassuring. "We all stumble, but accepting His grace and forgiving ourselves allows new beginnings to blossom." With each shared snippet of vulnerability, the ground shifted beneath them. The air felt thicker, more charged with divine hope than it ever had. They prayed together, sending up tender requests for healing. Candles flickered to life as hopes filled the room, illuminating dark corners of past hurts. As the closing prayer set in, an inkling of revelation struck Sarah. Imagine if we clung to this very moment, this community. What if we allowed our stories to be the bridge for others seeking healing? Murmurs of agreement echoed, igniting an internal fire. She sensed the divine spark rallying among them. This was merely the beginning of an unfolding journey that could ripple into the lives of others, even beyond these walls. But beneath that encouragement, doubt still lurked in Sarah's heart. Was she truly equipped to facilitate such profound change? With that thought lingering, she wondered, had the pieces even begun to align in God's great tapestry? What awaited them in their paths forward, entwined together in faith? As they departed, warmth lingered in the air. Whispers of a promise lay ahead, awaiting discovery. And in her heart, she knew the best was yet to come. What unknown wonders would God reveal in their journey of healing? The following days felt like stepping into a river of constant grace. Sarah found herself replaying the faces of her friends, their expressions woven with so many emotions. As autumn settled in, a golden chill graced the streets, mirroring the warmth that cocooned their little gatherings. Their next meeting, Sarah arrived early. She wanted to prepare the atmosphere, to bathe the room in peace before their stories unfolded. Candles lined the table, flickering light like tiny flames of hope. Each glow seemed to pulse with expectation. When the time came, chatter filled the basement again. But there was something deeper this time, as if a collective heartbeat resonated among them. The moment Sarah opened the door, they turned towards her, their eyes shimmering with a mix of joy and uncertainty. "Welcome, dear ones," Sarah began, her heart racing as she sensed the weight of the moment. "Today we'll dive deeper into forgiveness and exploration that leads to true freedom." They formed their circle once more, and as each person took a turn, Sarah felt the dynamic shift. Stories flowed like rivers, each one carrying burdens, but also whispers of release. One voice emerged. "I've held something inside for years." A man spoke hesitantly. "Guilt about my father, his choices, and my feelings of abandonment. How do I forgive him for being absent?" The question lingered like a soft prayer in the air. A gasp broke out among the group. It resonated with unspoken fears. Sarah's heart trembled with empathy. "Forgiveness can start with understanding," she offered gently. "It's recognizing that none of us are perfect. Can we try to view their wounds through the lens of grace?" As those words settled, a ripple of agreement cascaded across the circle. It filled with murmurs of realization, like the light of dawn breaking through the darkness. Flickers of hope ignited. They began to understand that their forgiveness might lay in shifting perspectives. Then, a woman spoke, her voice full of tears. "There's a weight on my shoulders from an old friendship. We grew apart after a betrayal, and I never had the courage to talk about it. What if we allowed our hearts to be open?" Sarah suggested, her gaze steady. "What might happen if you approach her, if you ask for reconciliation? Forgiveness can transform relationships in ways we cannot foresee." Suddenly, the air became electric with possibility. They sensed something divine hovering among them, a promise waiting to unfold. As they prayed together, Sarah felt enveloped in warmth. Each word shared felt like a stepping stone on a path they hadn't seen before, a bridge toward healing that stretched far beyond their moments together. And then, as if a veil lifted, Sarah felt an overwhelming peace. This wasn't just their gathering. It was part of something far greater, a movement divinely orchestrated. While they shared this sacred space, she sensed the call to go further, to reach out beyond their circle. Let us not keep this to ourselves. What if we invite others to share in this journey? Murmurs of agreement washed over the group. Hearts quickened with anticipation, and Sarah watched the flickering candlelight reflect hope in their eyes. But even in that moment of clarity, a flicker of doubt brushed against Sarah's spirit. Could they truly have an impact, a ripple effect on those living in shadows? As the meeting closed, the lingering question hung heavily: was there a bigger plan unfolding? Wrapped in warmth and uncertainty, they departed, leaving behind sacred whispers of transformation. What awaited them in this divine tapestry? Would their collective story bring healing not just to themselves, but to the world beyond? The following week unfolded with a sense of anticipation and purpose woven into the very fabric of their lives. Sarah felt it as she awoke each morning, a gentle nudge in her spirit urging her to carry the light of their recent gathering into the world. As she prepared for the next meeting, her heart fluttered with excitement. The group's action plan was beginning to take shape. Invite others, yes, but how? She envisioned posters adorned with simple, inviting messages sprinkled around town, the warm glow of their gatherings beckoning those in need of hope. When everyone assembled that evening, there was an energy in the air that crackled like the first spark of kindling. Friends and strangers alike filled the room, all searching for something intangible but absolutely necessary. "Welcome, everyone," Sarah greeted, a smile lighting up her face. "Tonight, let us explore what it looks like when we step beyond our comfort zones." With each story shared that evening, the stories resonated with raw honesty. A newcomer spoke up, an older woman with tearful eyes. "I've hidden my pain for too long. My divorce shattered me, and I don't know how to piece my life back together." As she spoke, Sarah felt a wave of compassion wash over her, pooling in her heart. "Sharing our pain is the first step toward healing," Sarah encouraged, her voice steady but gentle. "Together we can find strength in vulnerability." The woman nodded, and something shifted. It was as if a sigh of relief echoed in unison amongst them. They gathered closer, forming a circle that felt as if it were woven with threads of hope and vulnerability. Another voice broke through the crowd, a young man, uncertain but determined. "I've struggled with anger for years. It's like a shadow I can't shake." "That shadow doesn't define you," Sarah replied gently. "You have the power to shine light on it. Maybe it's time to forgive yourself first. We can carry each other in that journey." They all clasped hands, a united front shining against the shadows. As Sarah led them in a prayer, she felt an incredible warmth cradle the group, a divine hug wrapping around their hearts. The flickering candles danced with an unseen breeze, igniting every flicker of hope that resonated in the room, illuminating invisible barriers that had held them captive for so long. When they concluded, the air was thick with possibility. Together, they made plans for the next gathering, distributing flyers, inviting neighbors, reaching out with compassion. Sarah sensed they were no longer just individuals sharing their struggles. They were becoming a collective force for good. Yet, even amidst this clarity, an undercurrent of concern stirred within Sarah. What if they faltered? Would their intentions translate into true change? As they left, the night sky watched over them like a guardian. Stars glimmered with promise, twinkling like the encouraging whispers of hope. How far-reaching could their impact be? What effects would their courage to connect unleash into their community? The questions lingered in the quiet, unexplored. But with faith in each other, they walked into the night, ready to embrace whatever divine adventure awaited them next. In the days that followed, the anticipation in Sarah was palpable. Every morning, she would find herself gazing out the window, the sunlight spilling across the landscape, illuminating not just the day ahead, but the potential nestled within every heart in her community. She felt a great sense of expectancy, a whisper of the divine suggesting that something remarkable was on the horizon. The next gathering arrived quickly. As Sarah stood before her gathered friends and newcomers, she could see a tapestry of faces, each marked by hope and longing. "Tonight," she began, her voice steady, "we're not just sharing our stories. We're building bridges. These stories are threads that can connect us to one another and to something greater." She smiled as voices chimed in, sharing pieces of their journeys. There was laughter, tears, and an undeniable warmth in the air, a divine presence. A gentle spirit seemed to hover among them, urging forth confessions and triumphs alike. An older man hesitated at first but finally opened up. I've been a recluse trapped behind my own fears. Feels like I've missed life. His vulnerability struck a chord. You are never too late to start living, Sarah replied, her heart swelling with compassion. Every moment is a new chance to step into the light. You matter, and so does your story. They formed smaller circles that night, pairing off to share their struggles, offering not just words but genuine empathy. Each encounter was a flicker of hope, each laugh an echo of divine joy. Sarah moved from group to group, carrying a spirit of encouragement, her presence a touchstone for those opening their hearts as they prayed together. A hush fell over the room. Voices mingled in a melodic chorus, filling the space with reverence. Sarah felt a connection building beyond each individual. They became a unified body, a tapestry woven by the hands of faith. But as they concluded their gathering, a shadow flitted through Sarah's spirit. Doubts surfaced again. What if tomorrow's light dimmed before their efforts shifted the community? That dread felt like an unwelcome cloak, but at the same time, she heard a whisper of assurance, urging her to trust in the divine purpose at play. Each attendee left with safe words exchanged and connections made. As Sarah observed them depart, she marveled at how they walked a little taller, a little brighter, carrying that shared light into the night. The stars sparkled above, but she could hear something else, a subdued pulse of expectation, an echo that sensed their collective resilience. Then it struck her. The question they must explore in the coming days. What if the very act of sharing could cultivate a deeper impact than they had ever imagined? Would they dare to trust the light growing within each of them? How far could love travel when carried by hands willing to hold one another? She couldn't shake the feeling that divine revelation awaited them, a truth that would propel their efforts beyond their wildest dreams. But what was it? With each step towards the door, the shadows of doubt receded as vibrant possibilities danced in her heart, whispering of the transformation to come. As dawn broke over Willowvale, the sun poured golden light into Sarah's home. She awoke with a sense of purpose that tingled in her fingertips. The air was charged with anticipation. Today wasn't just any day. It was the day they would unveil their plans to the larger community. She had spent sleepless nights detailing flyers, her heart racing with excitement and anxiety. How would people respond? Would they embrace the invitation to share their burdens? By afternoon, the church basement was transformed into a vibrant hub of activity. Tables overflowed with refreshments and inviting decorations, each detail crafted with love and intention. As her friends trickled in, laughter and warm greetings filled the room, a sound she had longed for and had now found. Welcome, everyone. Sarah beamed as she took the floor, her heart swelling at the familiar faces. Today is about building connections, about reaching out with open hearts. Let us invite our community to join us on this journey of healing. The conversations buzzed, sprinkled with laughter and snippets of heartache. Each voice, a thread weaving the fabric of their collective story. Sarah felt a wave of solace wash over her, convinced that this was indeed a divine mission unfolding. They shared stories of their own challenges, emboldening each other to speak with courage and candor. I remember hiding from my own shadows, a young woman shared, her voice soft yet strong. But here I feel safe. I want others to feel this too. Her words hung in the air, a warm invitation for anyone who felt like an outsider. And in that moment, it seemed that their vulnerability was becoming a beacon for others as the night deepened. That warmth swelled into a fervor, and one by one, newcomers began to step through the doors, nervous smiles turning to expressions of relief. Each face mirrored the others, carrying past wounds yet yearning for connection. Sarah's heart raced. She felt the stirring of divine magic amidst them. They gathered closer as stories flowed from the hearts of people who had longed to be heard. My son struggles with addiction, a middle-aged man revealed, tears pooling in his eyes. And I don't know how to forgive him for how the disease has frayed our family. Forgiveness is a journey, Sarah affirmed gently, her voice steady amidst the silence. And you are not alone in this. Let us carry this burden together. The room erupted with nods, hands reaching out, an unspoken promise to bear witness to each other's pain. As the evening reached its crescendo, Sarah felt an overwhelming peace envelop the room. Reverend Thomas's presence, a steadfast pillar of strength, echoed her sentiments. When we gather, we create a ripple effect. Let us join hands and hearts for our community, extending an invitation for healing. His voice resonated with life, urging them all to embrace this moment, to push past the walls that had separated them for too long. But still, doubt flickered in the recesses of Sarah's mind. Would their efforts truly reach those in need? And just when uncertainty threatened to overtake her, a soft voice broke through the haze. I heard about this gathering through a friend, a newcomer said, wiping a stray tear. I've never spoken about my pain, but I feel courage here. As she spoke, a wave of relief washed over Sarah. If they could touch even one heart, they were fulfilling their purpose. As they moved into a closing prayer, she felt their hopes intertwine like vines, powerful and alive. Their voices lifted into the night sky, carrying love and light beyond the walls of the church. As the prayer concluded, a vibrant warmth encapsulated them, a divine embrace affirming they were on the right path. The spirit of unity pulsed in the air, wrapping around Sarah like a loving embrace. Emboldened by the evening's revelations, Sarah took a deep breath, her heart full. Let us not stop here. Let us continue to dive deeper, to reveal our light in the depths of darkness. Her voice trembled with excitement. Together we can transform our world, one story at a time. A roar of agreement surged through the crowd, filled with joyful shouts of yes and amen. She realized, in that lively moment, they had ignited something far greater than she had ever imagined, an unquenchable thirst for connection and healing. As she watched her community embrace one another, a profound realization struck her. They had indeed created a safe haven, one that would transcend their fears and doubts, illuminating a path for others to follow. A community gathered, not just for their own healing but as a lighthouse for those yet lost in the shadows. Days turned into weeks, and each gathering blossomed into celebrations of authenticity and love. They spread their message throughout Willowvale, each flyer becoming a call to those who had hidden behind their struggles for too long. Sarah beamed with pride, watching as her friends believed in the visions that had begun as timid whispers. This is it, Agnes exclaimed one night, her eyes sparkling with warmth. This isn't just a group. It's a movement. We're creating ripples that will reach beyond us. Their gatherings grew in size, and soon the basement overflowed with souls eager for connection. But despite this growth, Sarah held tightly to her doubts. Can we sustain this? Can we truly make a difference? But instead of hesitation, she felt a gentle nudge within her. Trust in me, the voice whispered, urging her onward. You are not alone. As weeks passed, the air around them became vibrant with palpable expectation. Sarah saw the change hearts being mended, walls being torn down as the spirit of understanding flourished in the most beautiful ways. The community began to rise like a symphony, each voice harmonizing beautifully together. And then, on a particularly cool autumn night, they decided to hold an open outreach event, welcoming anyone from the village to experience their warmth and wisdom. Flyers were passed, calls were made, and as the day approached, the energy was electric. When the big night finally arrived, the church was filled to capacity, a dazzling testament to their hard work and faith. Sarah stood at the doorway greeting each person with an open heart, recognizing friends and strangers alike. As they shared song, story, and laughter, Sarah felt a rush of gratitude, an overwhelming joy that words couldn't express. Look at us, she marveled, eyes sparkling. We've created a movement of love and unity. Then, as the evening drew to a close, Reverend Thomas stepped up with grace and authority. We've created a space where honesty breeds healing, he proclaimed, arms outstretched, letting the love spill into the atmosphere. It's time to let our light shine, not just within these walls but outside into a waiting world. In that instant, clarity surged through Sarah. This was the divine purpose they had all yearned for, the very essence of their collective journey. And just as they stepped forward to join hands in closing prayer, Sarah felt an inexpressible warmth spread through her. It was as if God himself was beaming down, a radiant glow illuminating the struggles they had faced, the healing that had blossomed, and the opportunity waiting to evolve as she opened her eyes. She caught a glimpse of Agnes, tears of joy rolling down her cheeks, reflecting the light that now blazed within their hearts. "We did it, Sarah," she exclaimed. "The transformation is real." Sarah's heart soared. They had created something truly beautiful, a journey of healing and hope, not just for themselves, but for a community eager for divine connection. "This is just the beginning," Sarah spoke aloud, her voice steady and powerful. "Join me, fellow travelers. Let us step into the light together." As the congregation erupted into joyous applause, Sarah felt her spirit lift. This was a moment to carry forth, an invitation to embrace all the truths yet to come. And as they closed their gathering, each heart beat in rhythm, embracing the call that echoed across Willowvale, ready to embark on a divine adventure where love could truly conquer all. "Now is the moment. Step forward and embrace the healing waiting for you," Sarah thought, her heart overflowing. The world was beckoning them, a tapestry of stories yet to be woven, and she was ready to dive in. As if on cue, the moonlight poured through the windows like a blessing from above, illuminating every face filled with determination and grace. The journey had only just begun. Please, don't let the light of these stories fade away. You need to subscribe now for more divine revelations and transformative journeys to come. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to help spread this message of hope. Comment with your reactions and testimonies about the impact of this journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the embrace of God's love. Together, we can transform lives.